All right, we have a bet here in-house that my producer, Paulie, thinks a quarterback will go in the top 13 picks.
That's a pretty good over/under if we're if we're setting such things here in Vegas. The hot spots would seem to be you've got Carolina and Atlanta at 6 and 8 respectively. Both those teams are threats to take a quarterback. That seems rich for both teams to take a quarterback. But you heard Scott Fitterer, the Panthers GM, saying yesterday that the sweet spot for a trade down would be somewhere in the teens. Well, where do the other threats lie? You've got the Saints who own 16 and 19. You've got the Steelers who own 20. If you're a team that's going to trade down and still try to get a quarterback, you're not going to want to drop below those picks. And if you're a team that's trying to come up, you're probably thinking you've got to get ahead of certainly Pittsburgh, but also New Orleans as well. And that's kind of the gamesmanship that goes into this. And it's why, right now, sometimes there's reports about this team's getting calls or making calls about trading down. Well, odds are they're also making calls about trading back. They're having conversations with all these different teams to figure out, okay, what would the price be if we did this? And because, again, you have so much less certainty at the top of the draft, there are way more scenarios that these GMs are having to talk through just because if it comes to you on the clock, you've got to be prepared to take a player, but you've also got to be prepared for a lot of different scenarios that can play out based upon what's happened in the few picks ahead of you.
Okay, I want you on record. The quarterback and the team. Who takes the first quarterback?
The team is a difficult one, Dan, and predictions are a dangerous aspect of the business. If you are saying the safe pick, how about this? The safe bet is going to be that the New Orleans Saints, with one of their two picks at 16 or 19, take a quarterback.
Okay.
That's not to say that they will. I'm not reporting that they will before anybody tweets that quote. What I'm saying is I think a lot of people focus on the Steelers, but don't overlook the Saints. They did a ton of work on all these quarterbacks. They had private visits with a bunch of them. They're in a position where they brought back Jameis Winston. He's making decent money. I want to say it's $14 million a year base, but it's certainly not top of the echelon starter money. And you're starting over with a new head coach in Dennis Allen. So it would make sense. If I were betting for any team, let's take New Orleans out of it for a second, if I had to pick one quarterback to go first, I would say based on all my conversations, the best bet is Malik Willis from Liberty, simply because there are a bunch of coaches who have said similar things to me, which is he's the only guy who has those elite traits. This is a Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen world. You can watch Kenny Pickett. He's running a pro-style offense. He's making every throw you want to see. Had a great final year at Pitt where he was for 6 years. He started like 50 games there, but broke out last season. A little bit like Joe Burrow in that he doesn't have the elite arm, but he's accurate enough. He's got really good leadership traits, smallish hands. But it's where's the upside with Kenny Pickett? With Malik Willis, the floor is much lower than it is on Pickett, but Willis won over a lot of people through, obviously, his workouts. He's got a cannon arm, really good running ability, innate playmaking ability. You watch his highlight tape. It's unbelievable some of the throws he makes, but he's coming from a super simplistic offense at Liberty, much like what Sam Howell ran, much like what Matt Corral ran. Is he going to be able to make his game translate over? And when he played, legit opponents, like top 25 type of opponents, he had 2 games against them. Ole Miss and Coastal Carolina, I think, were the two. They beat Coastal. They lost to Ole Miss. But Malik Willis had no touchdowns and 5 interceptions in those 2 games. Ran for 5 touchdowns. But those are all things that you're taking into account here. You're projecting the traits. The traits are there. He's shorter, but the traits are strong. You're just wondering, can he make the leap? And where he impressed people in his interviews was both on the board and in his personality. Guys, people kind of think, much like Trey Lance a year ago, they think this guy can do it. You're betting on the person as much as you are the player.